Welcome, welcome, welcome. And if I didn't say it enough, welcome to the Remember When podcast. We had a couple weeks off. So the last 2 weeks, you've heard the best of the Remember When. 1 week it was with the Tagava guys. The next week was with Jamel Hill. But now we are back. We are live and we're ready to go. Big shout out to our sponsors. The Remember When podcast is brought to you by Tagava Coffee. Tagava is a coffee that has the motto of farm to cup, meaning a single origin batch and directly worked with farmers from Guatemala and brought right to your kitchen cup. It's really cool concept behind it, because every order of Tagava coffee that's sold, a percentage of that is donated back to an eco-friendly water filters to those communities. Water, something we take for granted. Other people, you find it as gold. So Tagava Coffee, go to www.tagava.com and use the promo code RememberWhen to get 10% off your order. And the best
free
thing,
shipping.
Free shipping. Who doesn't love free shipping? All right. So Deb, welcome back. We're back.
Yeah, excited to be back.
Yeah, definitely. We have a very great guest I'm excited to jump into today, Todd Anderson. He's going to be joining us. We'll get more into his career, his background, and everything once we go. But before we have to go, it's a reminiscent podcast. So the year is 2012. Do you remember 2012, Deb?
Actually, I do remember 2012.
What's a significant fact for you in 2012?
Significant fact, as in one of my 5 fun facts from 2012?
No, just something that you remember from 2012 that about you. What was a milestone in Deb's life in 2012?
Oh boy, now you're trying to put me on the spot here. Well, it's interesting. 10 years ago, that was actually, we were doing a lot of work in Chicago. I was back and forth to Chicago a lot.
I love Chicago. Garrett's Popcorn.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know exactly where it is. I probably stood in line in 2012 for Garrett's Popcorn.
Exactly. 2012 for me, I was going into my last 5 seasons in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills then. The reason I mentioned 2012 is because our guest, Todd Anderson, that was his rookie year in the NFL with the then St. Louis Rams. So as we talk about our 5 fun facts about 2012, I'm going to go first so you don't steal my good one first. If you haven't listened to the show before, Deb and I, we snake back and forth. We give 10 total fun facts about the year 2012. I give 5, Deb gives 5, but we snake back and forth, and Deb usually tries to steal all mine. So I'm going to go first. The year 2012, President Barack Obama was reelected to his second term, defeating Republican Mitt Romney.
Okay, you got one of mine. But I'm going to get you on one. That was Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee, as she celebrates today her Platinum Jubilee.
Yes, that's this whole Jubilee thing. It's something else. I just a couple of days ago learned exactly the meaning with the Jubilee and all that good stuff. But all right, here we go.
Yeah, and there's our queen. Not our queen, but
the royal family. So that's why you see Prince Charles and his wife Camilla
doing a little flyover. There you go.
I mean,
the flyover.
Crowd was welcoming her.
Big deal.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course.
Poor
Look
Prince
at
Charles. He's never
Louis,
going to get an
because she
opportunity to
is so
rule.
I
That's
know.
a strong woman right there.
She is 95. 95.
Yeah. All right. My fun fact number 2. The largest buyer of kale in 2012 was Pizza Hut. And
Kale?
they only used it as garnish around their salad bar. Look how far we've come with kale.
Wow. That's a true kale story. Okay. Let's look at Facebook. Facebook actually went public at $38 a share.
I wish it was that now.
I know.
Yes.
I bought some, not enough.
Yeah. Are you a Star Wars fan, Deb?
Of course.
Are you? I've never seen a single episode of Star Wars. Do you ever play? Do you play dominoes?
Oh no.
So in 2012, Star Wars action figures and dominoes were inducted into the Toy Hall of Fame.
Ooh, good one.
Was that another one of yours?
No,
Oh,
but
okay.
I will continue with the toy theme. One of the top toys in 2012 was Furby. Remember that little furry thing that would talk at you?
It was really creepy.
And scary. Very creepy. Very creepy. But it was a top toy in 2012.
Definitely. All right. The number 1 movie. Yes, there it is. That Furby.
Oh, there's our Furby.
Oh, so creepy.
What not to get Jayu for his birthday? A Furby.
Well, I'm definitely afraid of clowns and big mascots. So yes, I was even scared of Sparty. It just creeps me out.
Don't you love Remember when we find out all this great stuff about our host?
Yeah. All right. So my fact number 4, the number 1 movie at the box office in 2012 was Marvel's The Avengers.
Ooh.
I actually did see that.
Okay. No Star Wars, but you saw The Avengers?
Yes.
We've got to work on that. Okay. For my last fun fact, I'm going to go with Blue Ivy. Beyonce and Jay-Z's daughter was born in 2012. She's 10 years old now.
Wow. Really? And so Ray put that clip up and it reminded me why I saw The Avengers, because I'm a big fan of Scarlett Johansson.
She is an incredible actress.
Yes, that too. Yeah, okay, my number 5 fact. In March of 2012, Wendy's overtook Burger King to become the 2nd best-selling hamburger chain, still behind McDonald's.
Okay. I got one more, right?
Yep.
Okay. Encyclopedia Britannica actually went totally online and stopped publishing a paper version, a book version.
Do you remember those big encyclopedias?
Yes.
My sister had the whole collection of encyclopedias. She was that much of a nerd.
Okay. I'm going to out-nerd your sister even. I collect the old encyclopedias. I have them dating back to 1899.
Wow. Yeah.
I even have my father's set from 1934 or something like that.
Wow. That is absolutely crazy.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was the fun facts for 10 fun facts from 2012. And with that, let's jump into our guest. Today, our guest is Todd Anderson. He started at MSU at fullback. And after that, he had a stint with the St. Louis Rams in 2012. And when his career was done with football, he still took his passion for strength and conditioning. And he went with that, as well as sports performance coaching. He started as a trainer and quickly moved into management. He's a certified strength and conditioning coach. And this is a very, very cool fact. He trained his wife, Kate Hoff, to her best times towards the end of her career. Todd, he has trained many athletes from the high school levels to professional swimming, tennis, soccer, lacrosse, baseball, and football. And additionally, this is a well-rounded guy here. You train, you work hard, you got to sleep at night. He is a sleep coach, and he conducts team and corporate seminars on proper sleep and everything like that. Todd, welcome to the Remember When show, man. First of all, go green.
Go white. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, you look well rested.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just got a bedtime reminder on my phone, so yeah, this is past my bedtime already.
We got to get into that stuff because we'll jump into that more, but like I never really realized the importance of sleep till it was my rookie year with the Jets when all that stuff, we had a sleep coach come in with the lights and everything like that. So we're going to jump into that more, but like I said, this is a Remember When show. We have to start at the very beginning. We can't just start to where you're successful. We got to start to, as they say in Michigan State, when you were a slap.
Yeah. It's really coming full circle because I remember when I got to Michigan State, you were one of the first guys I saw. And I was like, I'm so out of my league because I was a walk-on. I was undersized. JU was like massive senior. And I was like, man, I got to get my stuff together to be here. That's for sure.
Well, you wasted no time in getting your stuff. You definitely got it together, man. And you carved a great career for yourself at Michigan State. So you're a kid from Jackson, Michigan, correct?
Yeah, small. Yeah, I'm actually from Napoleon. It's like a small town south of there, but yeah.
Okay. So what was it that like had you interested in strength and conditioning and the football side of things? Was it just, hey, I want to go to Michigan State to play football or, so I can just use the weight room?
Yeah. So my dad went to Michigan State and, I grew up going to games and I had no Division II offers. I had no offers coming out of high school. And, it was a dream to go there, but I never I thought I had a chance. And we did a 7-on-7 game against Jackson High. And, I made some really great catches, like kind of, some lucky stuff happened, some one-handed catches. And Coach Treadwell actually came down the next day and Coach Tread asked their head coach, hey, do you got anybody? We got a couple preferred walk-on spots. And the coach is like, if you're going to talk to anybody in the county, go talk to Todd Anderson and Napoleon. So I got super lucky. And when they walked in the door, I mean, my jaw hit the ground. Like I had no business going to Michigan State as far as recruitment went. And so, I probably would have went to a Division III school, but when I got the opportunity, I knew I'd regret it if I didn't. That was like my dream school. So it was a no-brainer. But, I was always passionate about strength conditioning. I was kind of like overweight as a kid. And, I started lifting pretty early in middle school. And, I gained so much confidence and got so much better at sports because of it. Even at Michigan State, I kind of knew I wanted to go into that. And I was so like, I loved Coach Manny and everything. We would go lift. We were a different, my class, a lot of the older guys, when I got there, it was like, how can I lift the least amount possible? But
right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we had some guys on that team, but like as my class got older, it was like, how can we work out extra? You
had the meathead generation.
Oh yeah, we were. I mean, my senior year, we did a weight room crawl. Like most people were doing bar crawls, and we did a weight room crawl. We went to every single weight room on campus. There's like 12 of us, so it was a whole different mindset. That's for sure.
It's like you, Setterbo, all those guys.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Like Aaron Bates was like a punter, was like a meathead,
Right. Yeah, that's something I do remember about you guys, and coming back. And you said it was that total different change there, and the crazy thing to say, like that's part of why you guys had the success.
Yeah, I think it probably translated into some pretty good things.
Yeah, definitely.
Got my 2010 Big Ten champion.
There we go. Hey.
Glass here.
I think I have one of those glasses somewhere.
Well, you have the ring.
Yeah, I do have the ring.
Yeah.
That's the yeah. So so you go to Michigan State as a walk-on. Did you come in as a fullback right away, or did you come in as a
I was a linebacker then DN? So I played.
Yeah.
Well, so my second year, so after you left, I tore my quad, still torn, and then the next year I was going to play at the end. I was starting on our third down packages, and then had to have knee surgery. I tore up some cartilage in my knee, so I was going into my fourth year basically, and hadn't played at all. But I was always right there, and that was mentally tough. I was like, am I ever going to be healthy? But then I kind of hit the ground running when I finally got in there.
So how was that from the mental aspect of things? All right, you're a walk-on there, you're going there and you're getting hurt. You're putting all this time in there, and it's just like you're just that close. Is that what kept you hanging on? Because you knew you were that close, but it was just the thing that was holding you back was injuries?
It was so hard because when I went to Michigan State, everyone from my hometown thought I was nuts. They're like, there's no way you can play there. No one's ever went to a big school from our school. And I knew I could do it at that point. I knew I was good enough. I'd done well in spring ball and camp and stuff. So it was like, I swear I'm good enough to play here, guys. I'm just getting hurt, And it kind of gave me a chip on my shoulder. I knew I couldn't give up without proving to people that I could do it. But honestly, nobody believed me for about 4 years because, it's like I happened to get hurt again and just kept happening. I'm like, it was, I probably had a lot of motivation from a negative place, but, whatever works, right?
Yeah, definitely. And hey, I'm with you. I went to a small school as well, and I had that similar chip on my shoulder. My school is probably smaller than yours. I graduated from a small farm town outside of Buffalo, New York. I graduated with 26 kids in my graduating class. So I had that same chip on my shoulder because no one has ever got a D1 scholarship from our county, really. And, going in there and it's like, oh, you're not going to make it. You're a big fish in a small pond here. But when you get there, so those are the mental side of things that can really, take effect on somebody. But you persevered through it, and then it came to your last season, and then you were switched to fullback.
Yeah. I wish I would have switched earlier. I mean, it was just kind of a natural fit. I think I don't know. I played DN, and I'm a little undersized for DN. I'm not, I'm like 6'2", 6'3", so I'm not that tall. I was a little undersized, and fullback, I just kind of felt natural. You just kind of throw it in there and, kind of sacrifice yourself, and it was just a good fit.
Who were the backs at the time? Was it Baker?
Baker and Le'Veon, yeah.
Okay.
And it was weird because Le'Veon, we didn't really know how good he was yet. Edwin Baker was like,
he was the dude.
I mean, he was all Big Ten, absolute stud. But then, we put Le'Veon in there once in a while. I'm like, whoa, this guy, there's something special here. So it was like, you have one of the best running backs to play in a while, with Le'Veon sitting there. We see something special, but you didn't want to not play your all Big Ten running back. It was tough, I think. And I think the coach had a hard time with it.
Right, exactly. That's something that is tough. And, and it's hard for a player in the locker room to be like, wait a second, this guy's good, to that locker room politic kind of thing there. But I think Coach D, who I absolutely love,
is the best.
I still keep in touch with him. We had him on another podcast that we have. Just an absolute great guy. I'm in the position I'm in today because of the lessons that he brought. That 1 year that I had him, envious of guys like you that had him for 4 years, 5 years, everything like that, because he's an absolute great guy, a great mentor, a father figure to many. And, I'm just glad that he's enjoying retirement now.
Yeah. I mean, I echo everything you said. I mean, he's like one of the best people, when he had a hard time, when some of the stuff came out in the media and they tried to rope Michigan State into some of that stuff, it bothered me so much. I was emotionally bothered because I'm like, if there's anyone in sports that wants the best for people and wants to take care of people and is trying to always do the right thing, it's that guy.
Right.
And when they were trying to rope him into things, I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy is the best. This is what every parent wants their kid to play for someone like that.
Right. Exactly.
So it was just super frustrating. But he was an unbelievable guy. And you know, he did get me on a pretty good April Fool's joke, him and Traps one year. I think that was the year after you left, but
Oh, do tell.
Now you gotta tell it now.
you can't start that and not finish.
Yeah, so basically, Traps kind of set this whole thing up, and Jay, you know, Coach T, the guy is not like, especially when you came in, he did not joke around really.
Oh yeah, exactly. He made us do a survey, and the thing that he wasn't funny. What's the number one thing on the survey?
like he made me nervous just walking down the hall next to him, and so I'm like a sophomore, maybe sophomore, I think, redshirt sophomore, and you know, me and my roommate Adam Setterbo, we used to go to like IM West and lift, you know, the day before games, and we were just meeting as we wanted to like get big arms, and that's what we were into. So I come in the locker room, and we have red locks on our locker, you know, like the red locks, which means you're suspended, you know. And I'm like, I'm a walk on. You know, I tried to do everything perfect because as a walk on, you have no room to wiggle.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I mean, we went to a party last weekend. Like, did somebody get in trouble? You know, I don't know what I did. And there's like a note on our locker, see Coach D'Antonio at 12 p.m. sharp on like letterhead and the whole deal. So I'm in the locker room kind of freaking out. And we're standing there and Coach Enos walks in and he's like, we show him the letter. He's like, you know, and someone mentioned it was April Fool's Day. And we're like, do you think that's it? And he's like, I've known Coach D'Antonio for a long time, and I've never seen him play an April Fool's joke, and I don't think this is something he would joke about. So at that point, I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, my mind is just like spinning. So we go up there, walk into his office, and he sits us down, and he's like, guys, you know, there's been a lot of allegations from people around campus and the media about performance enhancement usage, and we're going to hold a press conference. And we're going to suspend you guys until we do a drug test and just make sure everything's good to go. She's like, I don't want to do it, but, you know, I don't have a choice. And I'm like, you know, me and Adam are sitting there and I'm like, you're going to call our parents and suspend us off allegations. And at this point, I'm like, this something's weird still. And then he looks at us, he goes, I'm going to call your parents and let them know what's going on. Like real stern. And I was like, this is no joke. Like, this is the real deal. And Adam starts kind of freaking out. He's like, I got to call my dad and whatever. And I'm kind of getting mad. I'm like, this is just allegations. Like, you know, like, how can you like suspend us? Like, nothing's true. Drug test us right now. What are you talking about? And he gets up and he goes over to his desk and like, we're nervous still. So we're looking straight ahead. And it turns out he tells us that he's laughing. Like, he couldn't keep it together. But so he goes behind us. He's just like, all right, guys, you know, like, I'll let you know, but from this point forward, you guys are suspended. And I was like, this is insane.
Wow.
I'm pissed at this point. Adam's freaking out. I'm mad, kind of. We walk out, and Adam's dad calls him, and he's like, you know, I got to talk to Coach Antonio. We turn around, go back up, and all the coaches are in the middle of the office just, like, cracking up. And I was like, are you serious right now? I didn't even know Coach D'Antonio that well either. So, like, it was terrifying. And so, yeah, that was it. You know, Trash set the whole thing up. And, yeah, look at that face right there. I mean, you can't even
right.
And
that is awesome. That is a great story. And something that people don't know about Coach D, he's a great pool player.
Yeah.
You know, he used to come in the locker room and beat everybody in pool.
He'll hustle you. He'll kind of act like he's, you know. So
exactly.
You have a pool table in the locker room?
We did. But then we had a pool table when we were playing. When these guys started winning, things shifted. They have game rooms. They have everything now. So
now it's a whole different. I mean, it's even well beyond when I was there.
Yeah, definitely. So you get your shot. Now you're playing. All the hard work, everything, all the doubts from people in your hometown, high school teammates, and everybody like that saying, you know, you're not going to make it, and it's you go through training camp as fullback, and they're saying, hey, you're the starter.
Yeah.
How is that?
I mean, it was like, honestly, probably one of the best moments in my life. You know, I specifically remember our first game, home game, and you remember when they would read off the starting lineups.
Yeah.
Stadium, and mine always said like Jackson, Michigan, is my hometown, And right before the game, I went, I was like, make sure they change it to Napoleon, because that was like the town where everyone was like saying I couldn't make it, in a small town. So I remember, we all went to the locker room and, you have the tight timelines, and they started announcing the starting lineup. And I sat there and stayed in the tunnel by myself just so I could make sure I heard that over the PA, because that was a really like special thing. And I saw so many games there as a kid and heard so many hometowns and people, announce as a starter. So that was a super special moment for me.
Did they switch it for you?
They did, yeah. And I heard Napoleon, Michigan ring over the loudspeaker, which probably never thought I would hear that in my entire life. So if I could bottle that up and keep that.
Dude, I'm getting goosebumps just listening to that right now. That's awesome. That's awesome. Being a small town guy as well, and hearing my small town team, school mentioned on in front of 80,000 people at Spartan Stadium. That's something special.
For sure.
Yeah. So you get your opportunity there. And really though, like, think about this though. You worked your ass off all those times, and then you start one season and you guys, and then you have the opportunity to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
What's that journey like?
Well, it was wild, because I didn't even know, I'm sure as you were going on, and a lot of guys, you kind of get a feel of where you're at, where your talent level's at. And like, that wasn't even remotely close to being on my radar.
Right.
Because I was just trying to like play, I'm worried about my hometown getting right off in the tunnel, and people are worried about where their draft stock is. So we're not even at that point. And so like, when Jarrell Worthy, I remember, it was like a third game. My first 3 games, I played really well, and we ran the ball a ton. And he came up to me and he's like, "Yeah, I had like 3 scouts ask me about you," because he was like he was like a first round projected guy at the time.
Right.
And I was like, about me? I was like, what are they asking about? Like, who's the guy that can't catch the ball at practice, or what are they asking about? I didn't even know that scouts talk to people at practice and stuff. So, as the season grew, more and more scouts would, interact, would get more and more looks. So by the end of the season, I was like, I was at the bowl game. It's the first week of 2012. And, I was like, I think I have a shot, and started talking to agents, and it kind of became a reality that this could actually happen. So,
nice.
And right after that game, we beat Georgia, and I signed with an agent, and
that was
I actually think I was more excited to go train for it, because I was so into strength conditioning that that was like, wait, so my agent's going to pay for me to go down, get a trainer, work out 3 times a day, and get like a chef to make food. It sounds like the dream come true.
Yeah, you guys played Stafford in that in the Capital One.
We did, yeah. That was my
Outback Bowl.
Outback Bowl. It was Stafford left, but we played. Who was the quarterback? Aaron Murray was there.
Okay, that wasn't the overtime game, was it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that game has the best untold story of Michigan State football that no one really knows.
And this is why I love Remember When.
So and Coach D'Antonio, I mean, he could tell the story. I don't know, he probably could now. It doesn't matter, but it's hilarious hearing his side. So the whole week leading up to the game, how he would kind of do some corny motivational stuff.
Yeah.
So he kept playing the Muhammad Ali speech, like I wrestled, or I wrestled an alligator, I tussled with a whale, that whole speech.
Yeah.
Over and over, like every day. And the last day of practice finishes, we all come together. We're at this high school field, and there's a big field next to us. And he we all sit down, and he plays it super loud over the loudspeakers. And it's like kind of weird, right? And we're all just sitting there. And the wrestle an alligator thing comes on, and he's like, "What's that?" And he points in the field over the other field, and there's a giant alligator in this field. So clearly this was planted, but we're kind of like, I don't know what's going on. So this guy takes off from our huddle and sprints after the alligator. He has helmet on, practice jersey, the whole get up.
Oh no, he was staged.
Yes, like number 57, and I'm like, who is this? So we all kind of like run after it, and we start to figure out, okay, this guy is like not a player. This is a thing. Oh wait, no, it gets better. So he's running with tennis shoes. That's kind of how we figured out that he wasn't.
Good clue.
And this also was going to be his demise, because he runs over there He grabs the alligator's tail, slips, and the alligator turns around and just smashes his knee, bites his knee, like boom, would not let go. So we're standing, we got 100 guys, right? This alligator is chomped on this guy's knee. There's blood running down his knee, and they cannot get the jaws open. His partner comes in, he puts these ropes around the teeth, and we all had to like be quiet and stand still, because if it starts rolling, like he's gonna rip the guy's leg off.
Right.
And so we had to stand there for probably 5 to 10 minutes, and eventually they got this thing to relax. And then, the guy's leg's all bloody, and so it doesn't end there. We, kind of get our stuff together. We all go in the locker room. We have like 6 docs there, and the guy comes in and he's like, hey, the doc's like, hey, let's stitch you up. We have all the stuff. And he's like, guys, I fight MMA. Like, this is nothing. And he's like, I just need some bleach and a Q-tip. So this guy comes in the locker room, takes bleach, swirls it around, and sticks it in this wound. And it like goes like all the way in his knee. He just passes out, flops backwards, middle of the locker room, had to like call an ambulance, and he had to get like taken to the hospital as a whole thing. And so luckily that was it. It was insane. And nobody ever found out about it, because Coach D luckily like didn't allow media at that practice. It just kind of all got brushed under the rug, and nobody even knew it happened. It was crazy.
That is unreal.
Wow.
It's a crazy story. When he tells it, like he was freaking out on the inside, because he's thinking like, is this going to be a lawsuit? So they like gave him free tickets and sideline passes to the game and all this stuff.
Did you see him on the sidelines at the game?
Yeah, he was there. He was there for sure. He was okay, luckily. But,
oh wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
That's a story right there.
yeah.
Sounds like Coach G has a little bit of a sense of humor there.
He does now. He was not laughing at the time, I'll tell you that.
Oh no, not at that time.
No,
At the beginning of the story.
No, yeah, he likes to do some funny stuff for sure. And his first year when you were there, like he was no joke, and he gradually, loosened up as we kind of got the hang of things and kind of learned how to take care of ourselves, and were a little more disciplined. Then we got to see a little bit more of the fun side.
Yeah, I remember when he was there, and it was the tragedy. It was the Virginia Tech shooting, and it was right before spring ball. And because all along with John L. Smith, we wore white shoes, white socks, and everything. And so he said, hey, today for the spring game, we're going to wear black socks. And people are like, yeah. And then he's like, you guys don't know what it's for, and we're not doing it. I was just, this guy means business.
No, it was no joke, but in a good way. I feel like we needed it at that time. It just
we did
for sure.
It was that whole culture change, from what it was before to where it is now, and I think that was the launch pad for where the program's going now.
I agree.
Hey man, I could talk about this all the time. Let's get into your where you are now. So you played for the Rams. After you were done, you're still interested in strength training and everything. So how'd you get into that? What made you?
Yeah, so I kind of always I knew I wanted to do something along those lines, but it was hard to really. No one around me or anyone I knew made like a really good career, financially and just from a success perspective of strength conditioning and training, other than like a college strength coach.
Right.
I kind of thought I wanted to do that, but then, I don't know, as far as just personality and the lifestyle of those guys, it's a tough, route, tough to get jobs, a lot of this stuff. So I went and worked for a little bit at the place I trained for Pro Day. Mm-hmm. So I worked with some NFL Combine guys and just kind of learned how to train athletes in that sense. And then kind of just to continue my education, I ended up working with Equinox, which is like a high-end like fitness club in big cities. Mm-hmm. So I trained a lot of people there and ended up managing a lot of those clubs in South Beach, in Chicago, and then eventually New York City, where our headquarters was. And, I got access to some of the best experts in the world and, all these different modalities of training. We had, Equinox is extremely successful business. So we had tons of resources and we could bring in these amazing people. Like, we'd find the best sleep person and hire them in for the day and get to spend, a whole day with them one-on-one. And I was super grateful for all that education. And then with COVID and everything, I think the fitness world kind of shifted, and me and my wife kind of combined strengths. And we were like, there's a huge need for, swimming and strength conditioning. It's kind of a slow evolving sport outside of the pool. And, these swim coaches are awesome at coaching swim, but it's unfair of them to be the strength conditioning expert too. Right. So we had a lot of people ask us for help, and Katie worked with a lot of people during COVID when they couldn't swim, and the need and the people that were asking us for help just continued to grow. So, we started a company that basically we go in and take over a team strength conditioning program from afar, and we have an app, and we work with these different teams across the nation and do all their strength conditioning program along with like the sleep and nutrition support.
Yeah, and you bring your wife up, and you can't just graze over her. She's a pretty successful young lady herself. World-class Olympic swimmer.
She's way cooler than me, that's for sure.
You can't just say, we did this and we did swim.
Me and my wife.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't work without her, that's for sure. She's the hook.
How'd you guys meet?
So when I was training for Pro Day in 2012, funny enough, we met in 2012. Big year for me, 2012 was.
Good choice.
Yeah, that was all by chance. But she was training for 2012 Olympics, and we had the same strength conditioning coach. So she was dating someone at the time, but we kind of stayed in touch, and she went to Olympic trials. And I just thought it was cool. I was like, she was the best swimmer in the world, for a while, all these accolades, and I didn't know anybody like that. And I just thought it was really fun to root for her and kind of stay in touch and, have these different conversations about stuff. And she ended up getting sick at Olympic trials. And, I felt like I could relate to her. I just texted her and was like, thinking about you, because at that point, it sucks, right? You didn't make Olympic trials. You worked for 4 years for it. You were one of the best, and it's just not fun. And everyone's trying to tell you it's okay, and it's not okay. It's not okay at all. And I think everyone was kind of trying to tell her it was okay. And I was one of the few people that I think kind of understood that it wasn't. And I had some time off of Michigan State in between Pro Day and when I went to St. Louis. And I was like, come visit. We're just hanging out. We're going out to Harper's and Rick's a couple of times and, get your mind off it. And she took me up on it. She's like, I'm going to come. And she ended up coming, and we hit it off. And she came to visit me in St. Louis. And that's been it pretty much ever since then.
Wow. I think JU might be frozen there.
Yeah, he's a little frozen. It's all right.
So that I'm so impressed with your strength training, with all the conditioning, and how you've combined it with swimming. I know that you were a wrestler. I know that you played baseball, all of that. Are you just focusing on swimming with Synergy Dryland? Tell me a little bit about that.
We are, because I think that it combines my strengths and Katie's strengths. And I think that I really do think of all the sports, there's a big need there. I think there's a lack of resources in the swimming community, and not in a bad way. I just think that other sports have evolved at a very high level. They have a ton of resources, and, people are pushing the limits. And I think that swimming sometimes, because there's not designated strength conditioning coaches like a football team, basketball, or baseball, sometimes the innovation isn't quite as rapid. So I think it's worked really well for us just to stick to swimming. And the other thing is, Katie has a ton of great relationships in the swim community. Yeah. So that's been awesome. And we've been able to work with some pretty amazing coaches right out of the gate just because of what she's done in her past. So for now, just focusing on swimming. But, I'll personally work with athletes. Now, I work with like some athletes on sleep and stuff, that maybe a lot of guys from Michigan State, but, some NFL guys or whatever, that if they reach out to me individually, but we just don't really advertise that because swimming is kind of our bread and butter.
So, and I was going back and forth here with but so you met your wife, and then but you proposed a unique way. I don't know if that
I did.
She was throwing out the first pitch at the Rays game, right?
Yeah, so when I was in South Beach, we became pretty good friends with the owner of the Tampa Bay Rays, and we were thinking about how could I propose. I was thinking about brainstorming. His name's Randy, and I was originally going to dress up like the mascot and then like take the thing off, but then
I'm glad you didn't do that.
I know. Well, a couple of weeks before too, like a soldier came back from war and like surprised his daughter. So I'm like, well, I can't do that. That's a whole different emotional thing, and he can have that on his own. He deserves that. And so I'm like, okay, I need you to ask her to throw out the first pitch, but it's not that weird because she's thrown out the first pitch before, so it's not out of the ordinary for him to ask. And so they were playing the Yankees, and I planned everything out. And so I was going to run from center field, and I had my parents there, her parents there. She had no idea. Like, they were standing across the hall from us, so we had to like text, like, "Hey, are you leaving the room?" And coordinate this whole thing. But yeah, so like she went to throw the pitch out, and they kept going on about our history. They were like, Katie Hoff, 8-time world champion, and they started talking about like us, like met her boyfriend in Naples, all this stuff that's like way too detailed, and she was kind of getting confused. And at that point, I was like running to the pitcher's mound. But it's funny because the week before we were watching the baseball game, and someone like put up on the screen like, "Will you marry me?" in the stands. And she was like, "Oh my God, I would hate that if someone proposed to me at a baseball game like that."
Oh, and you still did it?
And I had this all planned out, and I was like,
oh.
But so I kind of dove into it a little bit more. I'm like, oh, why? And it was more about just it not being special. And it was just, anyone can kind of get it up on the Jumbotron. And so I think since it was a bigger deal with her throwing the pitch out, and I went above and beyond to make sure it was like a special moment.
Right.
Cool with it. And she loved it. It turned out to work out. But there was a little bit of me that was nervous when I was going for sure.
She said yes, right?
She did.
Obviously.
I put the ring on the wrong finger, and you'll see it in the pictures. I put it on the right hand, but we figured it out.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So then, you guys got married, and then, so let's dive a little bit into now the all around training and the sleep side of things, because like I said, the first time I didn't take that stuff seriously. Like, it's a huge part of, if you're an athlete, all those things are a huge part of, that's your money. That's how you survive. That's how you make it to your next contract and everything. So like, can you dive into a little bit about the importance of the workout, the recovery, and the sleep side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing we're finding out, and the reason why sleep's getting so much attention, it's not even like the recovery from a muscular and your like body standpoint. It's more about the brain. That's the biggest thing. And we're gradually figuring out, when your brain performs all these tasks throughout the day and all these processes take place, that there's a lot of waste and byproduct that happens. And, when we sleep, we're physically flushing out these waste products, and we probably didn't discover this until about 2 years ago. But when you go into deep sleep, your brain has this fluid, and it pumps this fluid like waves, and it starts to pull away some of those waste products, like the tau proteins, beta amyloids, like the stuff that causes CTE for football players, which is especially important. It literally will flush those byproducts out and those proteins, and it won't allow them to kind of clump up, which is what causes some of these dementias and CTE and all these different neurodegenerative diseases. So when you look at sleep as an athlete, a lot of times I used to think like I have to sleep so I'm not tired. And you've got 5 hours and you're like, I'm good. Why do I need to sleep for 9 hours? But it's really like the performance you can't feel. It's the reaction times, and it's the your eyes and how quickly you can respond to different changes. And you probably don't even realize how much performance you're missing because you don't physically feel tired, but you're not performing at the optimal level. And it'll change. It's amazing how big of an impact it can have on people.
So what is the optimal sleep time? And is there an optimal sleep? I need to go to bed by 8:00 or before 8:30 when JU makes me talk on the Remember When podcast, or
I would say so. It's pretty accepted that 7 hours is the absolute minimum for an adult to sleep, and that's the minimum, right? A lot of people think like, okay, I need 7 hours. That doesn't mean optimal. That means like the least amount you can get while performing at a high level. And people will think, okay, I'll go to bed at 10 and then I'll wake up at 5, let's say. But, you're going in your bedroom at 10, you're brushing your teeth, maybe you're watching TV, taking a while to fall asleep. Maybe you wake up a couple times in the middle of the night. So, that 7 can turn into 5 very quickly. But 7's the minimum. Usually for an optimal level, the norm is 7.5 to 8 hours is usually where most people lie, like on the, the graph is the mean. But that being said, less than like 2% of the population can function optimally with 6 hours of sleep. So a lot of people will tell you, I get 5.5 and I feel great. And it's like, no, you're just acclimated to being underslept. You're used to it. That's your base.
Okay.
But very, very few people that is true. It's just that's their norm. But on the flip side, a large amount of people need more than 7 hours. A lot of, there's a huge percent of the population that needs 8, maybe 9 hours, and that's totally okay too. It's just we've been taught this whole rise and grind, and it's you're lazy if you sleep. But I think if you get the right amount of sleep and perform at an optimal level, you'll be so much more productive in those hours that you're awake that you can afford to sleep more.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering. You mentioned that people get up in the, you wake up in that.
Yeah.
Does it matter? I fall asleep for 2 hours. I get up, I read a book, and then I go back to sleep, and I've gotten 8 hours of sleep total. Because I think that's a fairly common thing. You fall asleep, you wake up.
Yeah.
The TV show's boring, whatever.
It's not uncommon to wake up a few times in the middle of the night. A lot of times after a REM cycle, your brain is super active during a REM cycle, almost as active as when you're awake. So it's not uncommon to wake up after a deep REM cycle, but you should be able to fall asleep relatively quickly after. If you shouldn't have to break up the night a ton in the middle. If you can't fall right back asleep, there's probably some underlying stuff going on. And a lot of times it's psychological. It could be anxiety driven, or just more of a, how you're processing stress. But it would be abnormal if you're continuously waking up for an hour or two in the middle of the night. That's something to probably dive in a little deeper too.
So what about someone, because I know the reason why when I started taking, the sleep stuff serious and meeting with someone, because I had sleep issues. I couldn't sleep. I would go off like literally 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. And I don't know, maybe it's because I was a rookie trying to learn the playbook, like you said, anxiety and everything like that. And, talk to the trainers. And at the time, it was just like, oh, well, we can give you sleeping pills, so like, what steps should someone take if they don't want, because I didn't want to go the route of sleeping pills. I don't, if I don't have to take pills, I don't want to take pills. But what route can someone go, if they're having that issue sleeping, but without assisting with a pill?
I think, there's first off, we always recommend like therapy as part of this, just because a lot of times it's stress induced with the stuff. When someone can't sleep and they're tired and they want to sleep and they're taking steps to sleep, a lot of times it's stress management, or at least, developing some strategies to combat your stress and your thoughts and calm your mind. So that would always be a first step if that's the reason. Right. As far as just like, X's and O's of what you can do, when it comes to medication and stuff, you really got to know what you're getting yourself into. That is the quick fix. There is not a sleeping aid on the planet that does not affect your REM sleep and your deep sleep cycles. Not one. Right. The only thing that, we recommend sometimes that's not, or that's a sleep aid, is melatonin, just because it's naturally occurring in the body. Right. And, our brain produces it, but it also, it is naturally occurring. So if you start to take it consistently, your body is going to become reliant on it. So you have to kind of know that's something we have people or athletes maybe have on standby if they're super nervous or having a hard time before a big meet or competition to take. But, I think it's more about the psychology of sleeping. So, what type of environment do you create in your bedroom? What type of, what type of shades do you have? What's your nighttime routine? When are you eating? There's a lot of things building up to the night and your relationship with sleep that can really help you, have a healthy kind of bedtime routine.
What is the optimal bedroom setting for someone to,
So the biggest thing that we talk about is, it's not even necessarily the setup. Obviously, everybody knows like a black light, black shades are great, but it's more about your relationship with your sleeping space. And what I mean by that is, you don't want to just be hanging out in bed. You don't want to be hanging out in bed watching Netflix, playing video games, emailing, texting, because, at our very base level of our brain as we're evolving, it comes down to your sleeping space needs to be a place of rest and relaxation and sleep. And so when you're doing stuff like that, your body or your brain interprets that as a stress. It's a task, right? If you're texting, it could be fun with friends or a video game. Regardless, you're still having to do a task and complete a task. So that becomes a place not of rest and safety. That becomes a place of work and stressors. And subconsciously, if you don't, or subconsciously, you ruin that barrier of like, this is my place of rest and this
Right.
is sleep. So when you separate those things and you do those things in a different area, a different physical area, even if you're off your bed sitting on the ground, and for a kid, that's going to make a huge difference of not hanging out in the bed. And there's some good literature supporting that. So that's a big thing that we deal with our athletes. It's just, if you're going to watch Netflix or play video games, go somewhere else, go out on the couch, but make this kind of your sanctuary of sleep and create that environment. And then,
what about the blue light aspect? You mentioned the cell phone and the computer and all of that.
Yeah, blue light's tough. So blue, all light stimulates the brain from blue to red. It's just blue has the most energy, on the electromagnetic spectrum. So we tend to block blue light, but it's not like a catch-all. Like if you shining super bright, any color light is still going to stimulate your brain. So it's kind of like defeating the greatest evil there of the blue light. So we do recommend some of the blue light blockers for screens. The glasses can be useful and relaxing, but it does stimulate the brain quite a bit. I think the hard part is like the phones are tough, right? Just the way that the world is.
Sure.
I think the computers are tough for people's work-life balance, but trying to reduce those as much as you can right before bed is a good thing. And then the flip side is too, and we struggle with this, is we do enjoy watching TV or watching one episode of something before we go to bed and in bed, which as like a sleep coach, you would not expect. But I think there's sometimes you got to weigh the pros and cons. Like that routine with my wife, watch a show that we enjoy, look forward to, and spend that half hour. That's kind of an important half hour. And it's kind of worth the negative side of maybe watching a screen before bed. Like I'll take that negative and kind of take care of everything else, because you have to live a happy life, and there's certain things that you just weigh the pros and cons, and you have to be a normal person and have a good relationship. And so that's one of the things I don't do, but we do recommend it. It just it shouldn't cause you stress by like not doing something you like.
So then if you don't have the blackout shades or anything like that, is a sleep mask, is that something that helps, or is it just something that people just make money off of?
No, they're definitely useful. I think it's hard because they're great for travel if you're used to them. Hotels are all over the place, and sleeping in a different bed really limits your amount of deep sleep. Even if it's an awesome bed and you're really relaxed, it just is a new environment, so you don't necessarily relax the same way on a deeper level of your brain. But sleep masks are great. It's just hard for people sometimes to get used to, but it's very consistent, and it's totally blacked out. So if it's something that works for you, we definitely recommend that. And it is nice for athletes on the road because, again, same consistency no matter where you go.
Okay. And then, so, speaking of athletes, so traveling, you've probably been there. You've had a roommate that loves the room at 60 degrees, go in and turn the AC all the way up. I like, does the temperature, is that something that affects, and can you get into that? Like,
so
that affects you?
One of the biggest reasons that we have a hard time falling asleep is cooling ourselves down and temperature regulation. Mm-hmm. So having a cool room is a pretty big advantage. 65 to 68 degrees is researched to be like the most effective as far as quality of sleep. So that's kind of that's where we like to kind of land. And I worked with Michigan State a little bit with Coach Tucker. We kind of made like a sleep playbook, and that was one thing I recommended the team, is just have all the hotel rooms set at 65 when the team arrives. So they would be in a pretty good environment for sleep. But temperature is a big deal. The other thing that weirdly works is wearing socks to bed has been shown to help you fall asleep 15 minutes faster on average.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's another way that your body helps your body kind of regulate temperature. Is it increases circulation in your extremities, your feet and your legs, and just makes it easier for your body to cool down a little bit before you go to bed.
Huh. So yeah, because I don't like.
I know it feels weird. It's tough.
I'm just compression shorts.
That's on the high side.
I do like the cooler temperatures, though.
So what about taking naps through the day? Is that gonna, because the whole myth, if you take naps in the day, you're not going to be able to sleep later. Is that true? Does that affect you?
Yeah. So, well, in order for a nap to be like truly an advantage from like a recovery and from a neurological perspective, like 90 minutes is the amount it takes to get through a full REM cycle on average. So that's how long it would need to be to have like a true deep sleep cycle and have the normal positive effects of sleep. That being said, a short nap can be helpful, but it's more of like a psychological thing where you feel better, and you might feel better, but you're not getting a ton of that true recovery. And so for naps, it's totally like personal preference when we work with people. It's like, if you can fall asleep, take a nap, and it's not going to affect your nighttime sleeping at all, then go for it. The problem becomes is if you can't fall asleep at night. Without getting too deep into it, basically, as the night goes on, you have these deep sleep cycles. And the deeper you get into the night, the more often they happen, right? So the first half of the night, you might only have 2 deep sleep cycles. The second half of the night, you might have 4, because it's easy for your body to get into these cycles because it's in such a deep amount of sleep. So
Right.
let's say that you take a nap and you can't fall asleep for the first couple hours of the night. You're eliminating that back half of the night because of the amount of sleep you're getting. So you don't get into those like rapid deep sleep cycles. So a 2-hour nap could have a day or two kind of carryover and negative effect if you can't fall asleep for a couple, like 3 hours because you took a nap. So we recommend, if it's going to affect you at night, I would not take a nap. I would just try to stay awake, because you might feel a little tired and groggy, but that's going to be a one-day factor. Maybe you're tired for 5 hours, but if you stay up extra late, you might affect yourself for 2-3 days, trying to messing up your circadian rhythm and those sleep cycles.
So with for an athlete, in between, you have double sessions. In between that, what most guys do is they'll hurry, go eat lunch, and go back to their room and take is that good, or is that not?
Yeah, no, I think if you have a long enough time, that could be a good thing. And I mean, I definitely did that. As long as, like I said, usually you're going through 2 days, it's like, hot, you're working your butt off, and like you have no problem falling asleep, unless Le'Veon, your roommate, who was my roommate my senior year, and people till 3 o'clock in the morning. So, I didn't sleep well during that camp, but he can pay me back one day with something, maybe a chain or something.
Right, exactly. So then, what about in the professional world? Like, you see these different countries that take breaks, during the middle of the day for a nap and stuff like that. Is that to refresh, the brain, get a fresh perspective?
I think that, I think that's a huge problem. It's a huge chronic problem in the United States, and we're starting to come around to it. I would speak at these law firms and banks in New York City, and man, these guys are just absolutely dragging, and they'll start to realize when the numbers and the data start to come out, like that over time, like you will end up getting less done in a more amount of time because you're being underslept, and I think slowly you're going to see insurance companies, you're going to see private companies start to value employees' sleep and their well-being, and we're starting to see the beginning of it. And I think that it'll become more and more of a priority. You see these like the Googles and the Apples, they have the sleep pods and the nap pods. And I think other countries, they value their rest, and they aren't as stressed, and they manage their stress well. And it's not this like tough it out mentality, or, no sleep, and, this culture of overworking. It's, listen to yourself, managing your stress, worrying about what's important, and letting everything else kind of fall to the wayside.
I think that's a really important point, that while we're talking about athletes, because obviously you two are athletes, it has a whole lot to do with professional people, probably school children, probably needing more sleep. That's my guess after reading up on it a little bit. But, it's much more than just the athlete who needs their sleep.
For sure.
Yeah, because I know lawyers are overstressed, overworked.
And lawyers, I mean, drinking.
We can go into lots of lawyer jokes now.
I spoke at the New York Bar Association, like right down by the World Trade Center, and they had some stories. Like they were asking, like some of these people, like, what if I drink a bottle of vodka every night? And I was like, that's a whole different thing. Your sleep is the least of your concerns. Let me tell you,
lawyers are up and down all the time.
Riding the wave of coffee and drinks, it's crazy.
All right, hey, so we're gonna wrap it up here. But Todd, definitely what we want to do is we're gonna I'll reach out to you, set it up so you and your wife can come on Deb's podcast, Sports Law, and talk more about the swimming side, because Deb she's a swimmer. I can't really talk much about the breaststroke, backstroke,
and women in sports.
Oh, yes. For sure, she'd love that.
Yeah, Title IX, all that stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, dude, really, I appreciate you taking the time and jumping on with us here. We put your website on here, and we're going to put it in the link there for, just real quick, just go through the services that you guys provide.
Yeah. So we do, we basically work with swim teams and individuals. So we do, we'll come in, we assess the whole team. We provide, sleep support, nutrition, all that stuff. And then, all the programming and workouts are all through an app, so they can do it remote or with the team, whatever works. But, we love working with people, and, shoot us. If you have any questions too, we're on Instagram and stuff, and we love helping out. And, any way we can support young athletes, it's very rewarding for us to see them have success.
All right, perfect. And there's the link right down there. Check it out. Give them a shout. Todd, really appreciate you coming on. Great stories. I would want to have you back. I want to have Setterbo on. I want to have Traps on. And we just have an hour of just reminiscing.
For sure.
All right. And once again, this is a sleep special on the Remember One podcast, powered by Taguava Coffee. Go to taguava.com.
A little ironic.
Every order you place, you'll get 10% off your order, and there's free shipping. Deb, thank you for being you. Ray, thank you for being you. Hunter, thank you for being you. This is Hunter's first appearance on the pod today. We will see you guys next week with another great guest. Peace out.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Todd.